Well, hey there, you're on the internet. I have some free time once again, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I liked it so much I bought it in a couple forms. It's Private Reserve Tropical Blue. Here in a bottle, 50 milliliters, so the smaller bottles, and in the cartridges. Tropical Blue. It's a light blue, and I used two different pens for this because in one I have a stubbed Platinum Preppy, but I turned it into an eyedropper, and so because the heat of the hand sort of pushes, creates an internal pressure, it causes it to write really wet, as you can probably see from the feed. And I kind of wanted it to be a little more fair, so I also put it in this Hero 616, which is a Parker 51 knockoff, which has a very fine nib. So, wanted to give it its best shot. So, check out the chromatography. It's a very light blue. It's about as light as I like to let my blues go. I'm not a fan of the super bright ones, but this one's pretty nice. It has good shading, which you'll see. Not a lot of water resistance, though. You can see there's like a bit, and then, I mean, there's just blue, blue, and more blue, but yeah. Starting from the top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. So, all the top stuff is the stub, the bottom stuff is the Hero. 13 seconds to dry for the wet stub, 11 seconds to dry for the standard Hero. So you can see you get great shading in the wet stub. You still get a little in the fine Hero, but it's much lighter. And it's not as pronounced, the shading. I said there's halo sheen in the dots and in the heaviest bits. Like, I'm not going to get it on camera, I know it already, but there's a bit of sheen around that one. And in that dot. And, well, anyways, no bleed feather spread. Good flow. It's a bit on the wet side, so that wet stub really just had it pouring out, but it looks great. Not a lot of water resistance, but still, since there was more ink coming out in the stub, more remained. But next is Rhodia 80 grams per square meter, where, come on, camera. There we go. 9 seconds to dry versus 8 seconds to dry, and again, it's much lighter because there's less ink being put down, and you get this great halo in the stub, and you start to get sheen, and hopefully I'll be able to pick it up. You get halo sheen, so like outlining the end of the P, and around the Z. There might be some in the scribble, but yes, it handles the heavy wet flow really well. Halos, no bleed feather spread, and because it's still a fairly light blue, the echo isn't terrible. Did well on the fine nib as well. Again, since there was more ink being put down in the stub, more of it remained in the water test. Really not too bad. Next is Tomoe River, where it was 14 seconds to dry and 13 seconds to dry. And I just want to show you, look at that beautiful shading you get in the stub. You still get some in the fine, but it's, you know, it's not as obvious. And maybe I'll finally be able to get some of that sheen. It's like a light red sheen. Come on, you know you wanna. Oh well. Yeah, so it handles the wet flow very well. Oh, in that A, there's plenty of it in that A. Come on. Anyways, moving on. Still decent shading, handles the wetness just fine, great contrast. Again, more ink, more remains. Not too bad. But again, I mean, look at how little the show through there is in the fine versus the stub, so here and there. Now, this is that crappy 20-pound copier paper, which has been performing just terribly, so I sort of was like, alright, I'm going to give it its best shot, and I'm only going to use the fine Hero 616. And it did terribly. I mean, look at how woolly and feathery and explodey it got. And this is a dry writing, very fine nibbed pen, and it still just did awful. There's no shading. I mean, I did the water test in the stub just because I wanted to see how it would do, but I mean, it feathered, it exploded, it bled. It's not as obvious because it's such a light blue, but I mean, yeah, that's not good. Here's the Mead Notebook Paper. 3 seconds to dry both times, which is a little odd, but hey, you know. I said not good. Still bright blue, but that's all I can say about it. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, if you look up there, like in the positive, feather, spread, and I said bleed, feather, and spread even in the fine nib, because it did. It really didn't do well anywhere I put it. And look, both were just explodey and feathery and rendered just ugly, and I mean, even on the fine there was plenty of bleed, and so I don't recommend it for Mead paper. Lastly is Moleskine paper, where it took 3 seconds to dry both times. And I said bleed, especially in the stub, still even in the fine, and crazy distracting feathering, because I want you to see this. I hope that's coming through. It's like if you look at the eye and feathering, and it's everywhere, and it's huge. I mean, there's particularly bad because there's more ink, but I mean, look at it in boxing, those huge spikes. It's bad. Don't recommend it for this paper. Not in the fine nib, not in the stub. Yeah. So, there you go. That's Private Reserve Tropical Blue, which I like quite a bit, and I think it does great in a stub on nicer papers, and it does okay on some papers in a fine nib, but it's not its best demonstration. So there you go. Reserve Tropical Blue. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.